Detroit and Orlando from the TD Waterhouse Center. John Saunders, Greg Anthony, and Sal Masekela. We've heard from Sal. And first, let us take this moment right now to say happy Thanksgiving. A little bit late for that. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. Greg Anthony joining me now. And Greg, as we look at this game, we say happy holidays to you and yours as well. This is a team in a matchup that you would think classic offense against classic defense. Not necessarily so, though.
Well, without question, if you think about a team like the Detroit Pistons, the fact that they are not scoring at as high a clip as they'd like lies in the fact that they don't rebound as well as they would like to. The fact that they have the #1 rebounder in Ben Wallace, you think, oh, they're dominating. They are second to the last in the league in rebounding, and therefore the problem with them and the inability to score.
Here's the starting lineups brought to you by Michelob Ultra, and we'll look at the front court first, and Cliff Robinson obviously has to be a big factor.
Well, he will. What he's done already is he'll force Doc Rivers' hand. Doc will have to play a lot of zone tonight because he doesn't have the ability to match up with Cliff Robinson.
In the front court, everybody knows about Tracy McGrady, but Miller is also a big factor.
Well, this guy has quietly put together a very solid season, averaging 16 points a game. He's 6'8", 215, and that in and of itself creates problems when it comes to matchup for the Detroit Pistons.
And for Doc Rivers and the Orlando Magic, one of the things he's talked about, he says, hey, we have injuries. Every team has injuries, but ours always seems to be to our stars, either McGrady, Miller, or Hill. And we are underway. Chauncey Billups goes to work right away as Detroit goes on the offense. And we expect to see zone out of the Magic.
You can see it already, John. They're playing the zone, and that's going to create problems. But this is how you beat a zone. One way is with penetration, because that's going to give you the opportunity to get some open looks.
Hamilton does beat the buzzer, but comes up empty. And now Tracy McGrady drops it off for Grant Hill. And on to Miller. This really is a star-laden lineup. Ben Wallace, great defender, gets out there on Kemp.
Well, you know, Orlando, if you look at their talent base, I mean, they have as much offensive talent as anybody in the league. The fact that they can't defend the paint, they don't have that proven shot blocker, is one of the reasons they struggle to win basketball games.
Kemp gets it in the high post. Now takes it to the free throw line. Shot clock is down to 7. Miller releases and knocks it in.
Already starting off well. They do a great job of moving without the basketball, the Magic do, and that's one of the reasons why they get so many uncontested shots.
Chauncey Billups, who's danced around the league a little bit, really coming into his own as a member of these Pistons. Down to Robinson, who's wide open on the baseline. Shot's no good. Grant Hill with the rebound.
This is when Orlando, I think, that their most effective way is when Grant Hill is getting rebounds and pushing in transition, because you can't match up with a guy with his explosiveness with the basketball. And they better get a hand in the face of Miller. A great shooter, and right now Rick Carlisle wants a timeout that quickly, as he's seen the great shooting of Miller build up to a 5-0 lead. You know, one thing about Detroit that you're seeing already, this zone is causing problems for them. They're going to get open shots, but oftentimes in a zone, you don't always feel like you should take that open shot because it's early in the shot clock.
You see the team summary, what they did last season, and Carlisle, of course, the coach of the year last year in his first season, something Doc Rivers has done as well. And the big trade is that Hamilton for Stackhouse, and he really likes the addition of Hamilton. Well, I think Richard Hamilton is going to be a great player for them. His ability to score is out without question. Whether or not he's going to be a primetime #1 option on a title contending team is the question for the Detroit Pistons. Well, he's the guy that Doc Rivers says he wants to find a way to shut down. It looks like they're playing actually a boxing one where they got Grant Hill shadowing Richard Hamilton. Miller has to reach in and commit the foul, or it was a layup for Cliff Robinson. And that's the problem. You talked about this with me before the game, because everybody thinks that the zone sets you up for just the outside shots, but you've got to find a way to break the interior as well. Well, there are two ways you do that. One, you do it with a dominant post player, which obviously Detroit has some decent post players, but they don't have that dominant post player that commands a double team. The other way you do it, which is the way they can, is with penetration, whether it be from the wings or from the top with the point guard. Robinson coming up empty with his first offering. Trying to get the points on the board for the Pistons. Oh, yes, and the Thunder Sticks are up in force. So it's going to be loud. It's going to be hard to hear ourselves think here tonight.
Well, already Tracy McGrady hasn't really gotten involved offensively, but he hasn't had to because of what Pat Garrity and Mike Miller have been able to do.
Kemp takes strong to the hole, but was challenged underneath and comes up empty. Phillips with it now. Robinson with the left-hand hook won't go. Kemp with the rebound this time. Garrity wide open. That's a deuce. Comes up short.
But that's what Orlando wants. They want to get out in transition and run to that three-point line. They shoot that three-point about as well as anybody in the league.
Wallace. Phillips now. Again, Detroit having problems. Hamilton tries to penetrate, does. It'll still belong to Detroit. But out of bounds with 8 seconds on the clock. If we look at the team summary for the Orlando Magic, really the story are the games missed by McGrady and Hill. That's the difference in this team being a 500 team, being maybe 10 games up on 500.
Well, and Mike Miller for that matter. He's missed a few games as well. And Doc talked about it earlier, the fact that his top 3 guns have all missed several games this season, and that puts you at a disadvantage.
See Chauncey Billups short. Tracy McGrady well short. T-Mac was out shooting before the game as he smiles after the miss. And he actually was struggling with his shot a little bit. The effect probably of that bad back.
Yeah, and the layoff. You know, whenever you don't have the consistency of playing throughout the course of the season, you take games off, it impacts you no matter how great your talent is.
Chauncey Billups now. Curry is wide open. A three-pointer. Still nothing doing for the Pistons. McGrady with the rebound.
The zone is having a huge impact on Detroit right now.
Ben Wallace is going to get hit with a foul, but how quickly did he close?
That was, I tell you, Ben Wallace, he allows you an opportunity to be effective on the defensive end because he's so tenacious in terms of going after block shots. You know, most guys who block shots, you think of them only blocking interior shots, but he blocks jump shots. This guy's all over the floor.
He just closes in such a hurry. Kemp figures he has an easy deuce, and he'll have to earn it this time. Well, Ben Wallace, you saw what he can do. Tracy McGrady, Grant Hill, some of the great players in the league. Which ones will be all-star starters? Log on to NBA.com, cast your ballot for the 2003 All-Star Game in Atlanta. Detroit is 0-5 from the field right now.
Again, it's all because of the zone. The zone is giving them a lot of problems, and Doc Rivers talked about it before the game. This is one way he's been effective against Detroit because they do not handle the zone well.
Well, they are struggling, trying to penetrate, looking for calls that aren't there. Miller lines up a three, and it's good.
Rick Carlisle's going to have to make some adjustments because this is not the way he wanted to start on Christmas Day.
Well, he's unhappy that his team fell down 10-1, but he's also wondering where the fouls are on the penetration into that zone. It's early, 10-1 on Christmas Day.
And whether or not maybe you get home court in that first round, which ultimately could determine whether you're able to advance.
Yeah, that is huge without question.
You know, one point about the way the game's going now, and one advantage Detroit has, they have a bench. Holy cow.
Ouch.
Ooh, that's ugly.
The worst place you want to see Tracy McGrady go down is on his back. We'll let you finish your thought as you see T-Mac.
The pump fake.
And then the underneath.
An offensive player's best friend.
Yep.
But the point I was making about Detroit, they have the luxury of having a lot of offensive firepower on their bench. Something that Orlando doesn't. So although the start is not what they would like, they do have that luxury of knowing, hey, you know, I got a John Barry that I could go with. You know, I got a Chucky Atkins, a Corliss Williams, guys who have the ability to come in and give us an offensive lift.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of scoring off the bench. In fact, #1 bench in the NBA, and that's the reason why they have so much firepower. They don't look to get all of it out of the starters. McGrady's got it now, working on Curry. Ball on the floor, jumps in, doesn't finish, gets his own back, and flushes it down.
The guy's just so good. I mean, there he shows his ability, the fact that he can go in, have his shot blocked with the quickness to recover and go up with the left hand for the slam.
You see him wince, though, at the top of that defense. McGrady is definitely wincing.
Well, I'm sure Doc Rivers is wincing as well right now.
All of the fans. Grant Hill pulls up and knocks it in. So now Hill and McGrady on the board as well.
That's what makes this team so dangerous. They got 3 guys that can run the break, and Hill, Miller, and McGrady. They can all score it, pass it, and defend it.
Robinson out to Curry. Phillips swings it down to Hamilton. 7 on the shot clock. Phillips dumps it off. The finish by Robinson, and he hits the deck.
They're going to need more of that penetration from the guard.
Grant Hill goes in, challenged underneath. Sean Kemp comes up with it. Ball still on the floor, and the Pistons, Richard Hamilton has it.
Again, Ben Wallace with the deflection, that block shot, that's going to be key for them.
Well, we get it waved off. The foul is called beforehand, before they got out on the break.
Again, the pump fake, his ability to get into the interior. Ben Wallace with a great deflection. But again, Tracy McGrady, that quickness and that ability to score in the paint. You know, at 6'10", he creates so many problems for you on the defensive end.
You give him too many chances to flush that thing down and forget it. McGrady spins in the baseline. It's good.
This is going to be a really difficult matchup. As great as Michael Curry is defensively, again, he's given up 3 inches, and he's given up a lot of athleticism as well.
A great read by McGrady. Get ready, folks. Showtime.
I tell you what, this zone has just got them totally confused right now.
Well, that is another timeout called by Rick Carlisle. The third one he has called already here in the first 6 minutes of the game. Talking with assistant.
Talk to y'all. I'm taking my man to shoot around. I'm gonna holler at y'all later. We're gonna go practice a little bit.
That's Tracy McGrady on Monday meeting with Irene Brown. Of course, the youngster who was a victim of the sniper attacks in Washington, D.C. As you can see, he has recovered. And Tracy McGrady was his favorite player. And McGrady brought him down. Has him here at the game. Irene has just been smiles during this entire time, and nothing great came out of what happened in Washington. But you really see what a great kid Tracy McGrady is to spend time. Halftime will have a feature on this entire trip.
You know, it's just such a heartwarming story for Irene to be able to see his idol live on Christmas Day. You know, what better Christmas gift could a young man have?
So again, be sure and stick with us with halftime. Kevin Frazier will have the entire story. That's Corliss Williamson on the floor now. Tosses it, picked off by Tracy McGrady. And I'll tell you what, out of these timeouts, it hasn't helped that much. Grant Hill back to McGrady. Loses the handle. It's out of bounds. And now they're going to say we're going to get a conference with the officials.
Well, you see already that Rick Carlisle's gone to the bench and brought in his offensive weapons. Rick Barry, Corliss Williams. You know, in the meeting prior to the game, Rick had mentioned how he took it as an honor to play on Christmas Day because that's the top echelon teams typically play. And unfortunately, I don't think his team has responded the way he would have liked.
McGrady from the outside at 3, no good, but the rebound tapped right back at him. That's a problem that Detroit has. He's rebounded.
It's hard to believe when you got the #1 rebound in the league that you could be so poor on the defensive glass, but that's what they are, and offense as well. I think they're last in the league in offensive rebounding, and you know, when you get so few possessions, it's important that you take advantage of them, and unfortunately, thus far, they haven't been able to do so.
Grant Hill picking up that foul. John C. Phillips again, his Detroit team looking at the zone and struggling with it. Not Kemp. A big battle underneath with Clint Robinson. I was wondering if and when the whistle is going to go, and they finally do get it. There's a huge battle underneath right now. And that's #1 on Sean Kemp. So Corliss Williamson into the hands of John C. Phillips. John Barry with it. Corliss in a post-up position with Kemp as they switch now. Phillips, 5 on the shot clock. Waltz turns, drops it in.
That's a huge basket for Detroit because of the way they're playing. They're doing exactly what Orlando wants. They're just swinging the ball around the perimeter. They have to find a way to either look for the post or penetrate and get some activity going that way.
McGrady takes it. Miller back to Garrity. He tries to split, and he walks with it. Don't forget, this is a great game and a great day for basketball in the NBA. On ABC, the debut after 30 years, Mike Tirico and Tom Total will have the pregame NBA shoot-around. then the 2-game rematches of last year's conference finals. Also, of course, Corliss Williamson's fighting that in. First meeting between the Kings and the Lakers since that little preseason tete-a-tete they had.
I tell you, I think it's just what the Lakers need, quite honestly. They need something to motivate their troops and get them going. And they've shown life recently, but today could be a real plus for them if they can get a win.
Grant Hill is short with a shot. Kemp gets the rebound, takes it into the paint. McGrady puts it on the floor, drives, splits out to Garrity. Open, in and out, but Grant Hill with the rebound. Then Kemp gets his hands on it. Chauncey Billups out to run, goes around Miller, finger roll, and they're going to count that. McGrady got to it, but not in time, they said. T-Mac's not buying it, though.
That's important. I tell you what, it's a big bucket for Detroit, though. They need anything right now to give them some confidence offensively.
Especially losing 3 rebounds on the defensive end in a row.
It's been their Achilles heel the last 2 seasons, and it's one reason why they haven't been able to advance further in the playoffs.
And again, somebody's got to recognize Miller.
It's hard to pay attention to Mike Miller when you got Tracy McGrady and Grant Hill on the floor, but you have to. He's scoring at 16 a clip this season.
How about that drive by Chauncey Billups?
They need more of that from him. That's really the only way they're going to have a chance is to get him involved offensively.
Miller, nothing doing this time. It comes into the hands of Chauncey Billups. John Barry. Corliss Williamson. Boy, he looked at the bucket before he caught the ball, and that's how he lost it.
I tell you, if he could have caught that, he would have had an opportunity to get to the foul out because Sean Kemp has a propensity to foul. It's been one of his problems the last few years.
Detroit with 5 turnovers. And Rick Carlisle told us before the game that was a problem they have. Wants to see it down to about 14 games.
And no offensive rebounds either.
Armstrong to Miller. Quick, the roll, but it won't stay down. Ben Wallace gets probably one of the easier rebounds he'll get.
Right now, Detroit doesn't have any continuity on offense. You know, there's a good play. Again, post-ups or penetration. That's how you're going to get them out of the zone and then allow you to run what you work on all season, which is your man-to-man offense.
Wallace with that deuce. Armstrong into Kemp. Garrity comes down. It comes right to McGrady. He gets stuffed, but the foul is there.
Right now, Detroit just looks confused on the offense and the defensive end. You know, they just, again, they have not shown that continuity or that fire that they played with all season and has gotten them to the point where they have an 18-8 record.
Brady at the line. He's come so far in his NBA career. Don't forget Capital One Bowl Week on ESPN, 4:30 Eastern Time, the Sega Sports Las Vegas Bowl, UCLA against New Mexico, then the Conagra Fools Hawaii Bowl, Tulane against Hawaii. Tulane, their first bowl since 1998, and this is a week to sit down, vegetate, watch some basketball, watch a lot of college football. Corliss Williamson thought about the shot. Robinson puts it on the floor. Down to Wallace. Quick hands by Sean Kemp. Prevents a dunk.
One thing I like now, you see that since Detroit went to the bench, they're getting a little more production offensively. You know, Corliss has had an impact. Although John Barry hasn't necessarily scored, the fact that he's a threat to shoot it makes you more aware of him. It opens up areas for other guys on the floor.
Is that because sometimes guys coming off the bench are looking to make something happen?
Well, not only that, but they have the ability and they have the confidence. If you think of a Corliss Williams and a John Barry, they're starters. It's like they have 7 starters on the floor.
Well, they're on. Whoa! You won't see that happen very often. Armstrong somehow got too far underneath the bucket and couldn't get it up and over.
I think that happens when you're coming off the bench. It's not quite as loose as you would like to be. I think 2 minutes from now, he'll be able to make that play.
That was Okur coming up with that miss. McGrady, great crossover to the glass, and this one does stay down.
They really don't have an answer for the penetration that Orlando's presenting right now on the perimeter with McGrady and Miller and Hill.
I mean, if you don't get out on them, they're going to knock down the 3. If you do get out there, they drive right around you. Now Wallace misses a dunk. into the hands of Corliss Williamson, and he gets fouled.
Although he missed that, the one positive about that is they're now finding the seams and able to penetrate and make plays. Tracy McGrady, again, his ability to get to the cup, again, he's got a 7-foot wingspan. If he can get by you on that first dribble, he's almost unstoppable, and in this case, he is.
That foul is on Andrew DeClerc. Then Corliss Williamson. Corliss, when he was playing in Toronto after coming over from Sacramento, he really found himself lost on the bench. But since coming to Detroit this year, he's got the 3rd most bench points in the league. 11.2 a game. He's a huge factor coming off the bench.
Tremendous factor. The one area where I'm sure they'd like to see a little bit of improvement is on the rebounding side. Again, and we're going to harp on that all day, but that's their Achilles heel, the fact that they don't rebound the basketball as well as they need to.
Imagine how good this team could be if they did rebound better.
And not a lot. 1 or 2 more games. If they could get that, that's going to make a huge difference.
Orlando doing, that's exactly what I was getting ready to say. The great job of distributing the basketball. Armstrong with the pass to Miller. Miller's got 9 points now. Poor into the corner. Williamson wants to give it to Wallace. Does. Has DeClerc on his back, draws a double team, spins, and knocks it in.
I tell you, Ben Wallace is carrying this team right now. His ability to score in the paint is huge, and obviously what he does on the defensive end in terms of blocks and rebounding.
Brady goes in, and there's Wallace ready to block it, but not before the foul is called.
I mean, if you're a basketball fan, you got to love Ben Wallace. You got to love his energy and his enthusiasm to play the game, but more importantly, to play it the right way. He makes solid basketball decisions every time he's on the floor, and that's one of the reasons why this team has such a great chance of winning every time they take the floor.
Well, people talk about the comparison between Wallace and Dennis Rodman. One of the differences is that Wallace is much more a shot blocker.
Oh, without question. I mean, that guy, and not only, again, does he block in the interior, but he'll go out on the perimeter and contest shots. And, those types of players are so special. Everyone needs a Ben Wallace on their team if they want to be successful.
Final minute here in the first quarter. McGrady now up to 12 points. Atkins dumps it down to Corliss Williamson. Wants to come out again and does. Poor back to Atkins. It's a 3-pointer that's no good. Miller with it. Out to run. Dumps it to Garrity, who just can't get his hands on it. A little low.
They're real fortunate, Detroit, there. Again, though, no second shot. Shot goes up for Detroit. They have almost no chance of getting a second, and that leads to transition opportunities for Orlando.
T-Mac goes to the bench. Gerald Sasser comes in for the final seconds here. Brady had a bad start to the game with 12 points. Atkins down to Corliss Williamson. Draws a crowd. John Barry. 9 on the clock. His jump shot rattles around and goes in.
Again, the difference in the game now for Detroit is that their benches come in and giving them a big boost. And in the game, it seems like they're down 20, but they're only down 9. If they get a stop here, they're going to have some momentum going to the second quarter.
And Orlando can take it down. The clock is off. Armstrong sees an opening over 4, closed in a hurry. Garrity's shot, no good. Over the back. And so this belongs to Detroit with just a couple of ticks under 2 seconds left. Another shot to get a fairly decent shut off, but they march it down. Half court, no good. And the first quarter comes to an end. Orlando's offense came out early. Tracy McGrady with 12 points. But Detroit sticking around, down by just 9. Here's the first quarter statistics. And there, that tells the story right there. Because of the rebounding, the Magic can shoot not as good a number, but still have the lead. Ben Wallace, though, only has 1 rebound in this game.
I tell you what, this is a huge time right now for Detroit because they have a distinct advantage in terms of the bench. And right now, this is a battle of the benches. And that's not the way you want to start by giving Mr. Burke an opportunity for a dunk.
Of course, getting that, they really move the ball around nicely. Barry now, a little shoulder fake, jump shot no good. Burke comes up with a rebound to Armstrong, ahead to Miller. Great job by John Barry to get back and knock that ball out of bounds, or Miller had an easy layup.
And remember, John Barry's the one that took the shot, which makes that even more important. Typically, the guy taking the shot is not responsible or should not be the last line of defense.
Made it back there in a hurry. Armstrong comes around. Atkins stays with him. Dumps it off to DeClerc. And guess what? Ben Wallace got his hand on that one.
But again, offensive rebounds. We talked about it earlier. It's going to be the Achilles heel for this team if they don't find a way and then they score.
Pat Burke. I mean, they're getting something from everyone in this game.
And it all starts with rebounding. You know, you hate to harp on one aspect of the game, but again, 7 offensive rebounds for the Magic. And they're not known for rebounding.
John Barry trying to shoot him back in this. We get a big battle underneath between Okur and Burke.
Foul is on number 13, Okur.
Again, Ben Wallace makes the play, deflects the shot. Smallest man on the floor, Darrell Armstrong, comes up with the rebound, penetrates, pick and roll, uncontested jumper.
Miller on the floor, working around Barry, gets it up on the glass. The big guy Okur is over there to challenge, but a nice use of the glass.
Now Detroit again is going back to how they started playing against the zone. Very hesitant, and that's not what they want is Ben Wallace taking 20-footers.
No, and then chasing down a little guy. Armstrong backs it out as Atkins closed on him.
So much of this game is confidence, and you can just see it in the body language. Orlando's got it, Detroit doesn't, and that's why we have the deficit for Detroit that we have.
Okur picks up the blocking foul. 14 on shot clock. Richard Hamilton, Cliff Robinson off the Detroit bench. They're going to come back in.
For Detroit, number 32, Richard Hamilton. Number 30, Cliff Robinson.
That little minute 45 stretch where you had predominantly both teams with their bench, Orlando dominated. They went up +3, I think, in terms of scoring. They got a few offensive rebounds. They're just more energetic right now than the Detroit Pistons, who rely on energy.
Boy, they make that defense move as well with the movement of the basketball. 4 on the shot clock. Miller comes up shooting, a little deep. Rebound to Richard Hamilton. Comes right in his hands. Atkins ahead of everyone. Wow! How the heck did he get that on the glass?
That was a heck of a play. A great pass by Richard Hamilton to give it to him early enough to where he could make a play. You know, he didn't put him in a bad position being a smaller player.
Armstrong now. Look at Hamilton have to chase Miller around. Underneath to DeClerc. Cliff Robinson was over there. Corliss Williamson as well. Tracy McGrady's off the bench. He'll be coming back in. Grant Hill comes in.
I tell you, that's not a pretty sight when you're Detroit. You look up and then you see Grant Hill and Tracy McGrady checking back into the game. That's got to be a little bit disheartening.
Imagine that. You look up at the clock. We're down 10, right? Who are these two guys coming in?
Yeah.
Well, it's only McGrady and Hill. Things couldn't possibly get worse, could they? Rick Carlisle's team is a team that will often close in a hurry, though. Thursday night on TNT, it's the NBA, the Pistons and the Wizards. Michael Jordan's final season. The Toronto Raptors, you talked about them. A team that's probably as much of a disappointment as anyone in the league right now. Of course, Friday on ESPN, Bucks and the Nets. The next Tuesday, the Spurs and the Wizards. What's wrong with the Raptors?
Well, you know, I think right now they're a team with just a lot of dissension. They don't seem to be a team that likes one another. You know, and you can just see it in the way they play the basketball game. There's not the chemistry that you need, particularly if you consider yourself to be a contending title team.
Grant Hill with it now. Okur scored on the other end. Hill turns around. Hamilton got a hand in his face. Robinson rather, was after the rebound. And now we've got a tee that goes against the bench of Orlando.
I tell you what, that actually might not have been well, you never want to give up points, but at the moment, Detroit had an opportunity to get a break there. I was a little bit surprised that Ted Bernhardt made that. He said he's a great official, but that probably stopped the momentum in giving Detroit an opportunity at a transition basket.
You're like, just can you wait 10 seconds to make the call?
And
right?
they typically do that. They normally will allow the play to transpire and then come back with the technical. And now it's a huge play. Might have cost Doc $1,000, but saved his team a point.
Rip Hamilton shoots it at 84%. He's missed a couple today.
Right now, Detroit's got to get Cliff Robinson and Richard Hamilton involved offensively. We got to do something to get these guys going.
Robinson out to Atkins. Okur underneath with the clerk. Atkins. And Burke comes up with a rebound. The Clerk ahead of everyone, gathers it in, gets it on the iron once. And because Robinson was there to keep it alive, the Pistons come out of there with the ball. Robinson from deep. Three-pointer is a little too deep. DeClerk with the rebound.
I tell you, I really like what Orlando's doing on the defensive backboard. They're just not allowing Detroit any opportunities at second chance points, and they're also pushing at every opportunity, which continues to put pressure on you defensively if you're Detroit.
Boy, tough pass. Detroit could have picked that off, but nobody was looking at it. McGrady shoots from the baseline, and it's good. Count it, and then we got a foul underneath on DeClerk, who took down O'Connor.
Tracy McGrady, again, just a tremendous talent, continuing to show why a lot of people consider him to be the best player in the NBA.
And we'll have that argument throughout the day, I'm sure. McGrady, though, is up 36-26. Wants to push it. Barry swings it to Robinson. Back to Corliss Williamson. Gets his own back. Great job to get that rebound back after the miss.
Again, that all happens because they're able to hold Orlando to one shot. They can get out in transition. This team has the ability to score in transition. The problem is they can't rebound the basketball.
That pass intended for Grant Hill. Hill thought maybe got a little push in the back.
And I was going to make a point. You guys had mentioned the camaraderie that Orlando has. That's one reason why Shawn Kemp has been able to be such a productive player this season. They've opened their arms and welcomed him here, and it's really allowed him to somewhat revitalize his career. And I'm happy for him because Shawn really is, with all of his problems, a very good person in terms of his heart, and I think he's going to be a factor for them as this season progresses, especially with the injuries.
Well, you mentioned that he's in probably the best shape he's been in several years, dropped 40 pounds.
And I tell you what, they need it. Because, again, they don't have the prowess on the front line either, but for whatever reason, they're able to rebound the basketball a little bit better than the Detroit Pistons are.
Corliss Williamson got a hand on that, but it goes out of bounds, so it'll belong to the Magic again. Mike Miller's coming back in for Pat Burke, who had some very productive minutes there on the floor coming off the bench, and that's huge. Burke averaging under 6 points a game, just playing about 16 minutes.
They probably were offended that we talked about Detroit's strength of bench, and
that's right.
Orlando came out today and thus far has showed that their bench is able to contribute as well.
McGrady, if you're going to let him go one-on-one, you're going to have a tough time stopping him. Went too high, though, off the glass. Williamson to Barry to Atkins. Still not happening. Armstrong with the push. Grant Hill sees an opening, so he pulls up. Jump shot is good.
What I like about the transitions right now with Orlando is the quality of shots. You know, they're getting really good high percentage shots in their transition. Detroit sometimes having to rely on the tough three-pointer, which is not falling for them thus far.
Grant Hill just 2 of 7 and 4 points. Rip Hamilton gets it on the iron, and it won't drop down for him, but Rip will go to the line.
Again, great push by Darryl Armstrong. You got Hill coming into that elbow jumper. That's a shot you practice every day. He's got his rhythm. He's comfortable taking it, as are all of the Orlando Magic right now, because they do such a good job of passing the basketball in transition.
Hamilton has not been getting it very well or very easy in his shot. He knocks down that free throw, but he's missed a couple of those. But for Detroit, Ben Wallace has 1 rebound, and Rip Hamilton has taken just 1 shot.
And you're not going to win a lot of basketball games if those two things are the overriding factors for your basketball team if you're the Detroit Pistons. They got to find a way to get Rip Hamilton involved, and the onus has got to be up on your point guard.
Brady and Hill. Hill comes up shooting this time. That didn't look good coming off, and how about that? Smallest guy on the floor, as you said, comes and strips Cliff Robinson. Allows McGrady to go in, won't stay down. Garrity almost had the rebound. John Barry now with the push. Atkins. Hamilton on the floor, drives, floater off the glass, too strong.
That was a quality shot, though. At least the transition was better. Unfortunately, Rip's just not got his confidence going thus far early.
Blocking foul. Detroit was looking for the charge there, but Robinson may have been inside the little semicircle underneath. That's his 2nd foul. Right now, we've got a 8-point lead for the Magic.
if I'm Detroit, I'm saying to myself, man, we got a chance. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. We're playing as bad as we can play. If I'm Rick Carlisle, this is what I'm telling my team at halftime. And we're still in this basketball game. All we need is a couple plays to get some momentum, get a couple shots to fall, you know, and they got a chance to win this game.
And if you're Doc Rivers, you got to be a little concerned, I would think.
They're playing well enough to be up 20, quite honestly. They're dominating the glass. They're winning the turnover battle.
16 now for McGrady. Atkins. Met by Armstrong. They swing it very wide open for a three. And that's what concerns you.
That's huge right there.
We're here at the TD Waterhouse Center in Orlando, Florida. John Saunders, Greg Anthony, and Sal Masekela. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to everyone. Tracy McGrady with a great Christmas start. 16 points. Garrity wide open, and that is a three-pointer, answering right back on Barry.
So you got to break down defensively there. Anytime you got Pat Garrity in a pick and roll, you want to switch that because he is not a threat to post.
Hamilton and Hill just closed on him so fast. This time gets a shot off that's a deuce. It's not there.
They are struggling. If they don't get him going, they're going to have a hard time getting back in this game. Tracy McGrady, as you can see, is starting to play a little bit, have some fun. Mismatch right now.
Yeah, the back gets a little bit looser the longer the game goes as it starts to warm up, and T-Mac is heating up.
Detroit just doesn't have an answer for Tracy McGrady quite, and most teams in the league don't have an answer, so they're not alone in that.
Barry to the baseline. Garrity cuts him off. Barry's looking for the call. It's not there. Garrity. And Barry commits the foul as he's going past Garrity. And that is what both coaches were talking about at the start of the game, going for threes out of transition.
Well, Tracy McGrady again with just a beautiful move. Again, the fact that he's literally 7 foot tall and he's got the skill of a 6'2" player, there just aren't a lot of answers to a guy like that. No pun intended with Allen Iverson either, but he's just a difficult matchup. But in transition, this pass play, again, that's where Orlando's at their best. If they could ever control that backboard, they are such a threat to score on the other end. They create so many problems because right now, if you look at the team on the floor, they got 5 guys that can score. You don't really have that too often in this league where 5 guys have the ability to go out, not only make shots, but make plays and make other people better.
And Tracy McGrady listed at 6'8", but the length of his arms and the athletic ability make him seem as though he is a heck of a lot taller than that.
And when he's got the flow going like he does tonight, you know, anytime you're a great player, you know you can get to the paint and make plays. But if you got that jumper going, that just makes you unstoppable. And that's what's happening right now for Detroit as they come back. You know, Ben Wallace, it looks like they're going now with more of a defensive-oriented team, bringing Ben in.
Well, they're going to have to get some offense going, or they can forget about coming back as early as this one is. But again, Detroit capable of closing, Orlando capable of allowing that close.
Again, this zone is really giving Detroit a problem. He started the game this way. Big play right there for Richard Hamilton. They got to figure out a way to get him going. He's a slasher. He's a driver. He obviously can shoot the basketball, but they need more opportunities for him to take shots.
Garrity's three is just a little long this time around. Ben Wallace with another rebound. Just his second of the game. See the bench. Pistons with the best bench in the league. Hamilton is open. And this time the ball movement allowed him a clean look, and he knocks it in.
It's amazing. It's amazing what happens when you get a shot to fall, how that just gives you a boost of confidence, even for the great players. And Richard Hamilton has the potential to become one of those.
And even if the previous shot was just a layup, as it was, it can make you feel a lot better about your jump shot. How about that move?
We talked about it earlier. Mike Miller, he's a tough matchup. People don't often realize how good this guy is offensively. He can shoot the three, beat you off the dribble. He's also a very, very good passer.
Rick Carlisle calls the timeout. You saw Mike Miller go to Doc Rivers. Doc was questioning the previous play defensively. Got his answer. They're up by 12. Kevin, you're absolutely right. Obviously, just one of the most horrific things that can happen to any youngster. It was bad enough, and then they start going after the children. And Iron Brown was a huge Tracy McGrady fan, got the McGrady jersey, said when you're well, we're going to bring you back down to Orlando where you can meet us. And and enjoy the game. And boy, his hero's doing pretty good as well.
Well, Tracy McGrady is a superstar doing just that, being a superstar. You know, he scores it inside, outside. He's there on the defensive end. You know, he just creates so many problems for an opposing defense with his ability to score the basketball and also to be able to get other people involved.
Very efficient, 18 points in 18 minutes, and that's 6 of 11. Tells you a lot as well about how well he's shooting. Robinson, then Hamilton, then Wallace calling for the ball. They don't get it to him.
I tell you, this passing around the perimeter is not going to get. This is what they need right here. Penetration. Again, penetration kills the zone. That's what's going to allow you to get into the paint and score 1, and 2, it's going to give you uncontested perimeter shots, which they're not getting a lot of right now.
Did a good job also dishing the ball off after the penetration. McGrady with it, taps it to himself. 7 on the shot clock. Oh, spins and loses Richard Hamilton. Oh, my.
That was a basket waiting to happen right there. There's no way Richard Hamilton is going to guard Tracy McGrady on the block. That's really a poor decision by Detroit to not go and extend help.
McGrady gets the hand out in the tip and then quickly tries to close, get the easy deuce. Atkins into the corner. Chauncey Billups back out to Atkins. 6 on the clock now. Hamilton is wide open. Doc Rivers isn't going to like that.
I tell you, they don't want to see this guy heat up because he does have the ability to fill it up and fill it up in a hurry. But you know what? One thing I like now, Detroit's intensity seems to be picking up a little defensively. But again, if they allow this matchup one-on-one, although they get the miss there, they're going to struggle.
Wallace tapped the ball, is kept alive by Atkins. Now Hamilton has it. Robinson shot off the mark. Chased down by Miller. Grady wanted to pass it down to Garrity. Grant Hill now. He's got a height advantage on Chauncey Billups.
I tell you, even though they're missing these shots, these are not what you want to give the Orlando Magic mismatches with McGrady and Hill.
And that is something that Orlando's not going to want to give Detroit. Rip Hamilton with 1 point in the first quarter. He's now got 13.
And again, we're back to that 8-point cushion that Orlando has. Detroit has to feel good about themselves because they're not playing particularly well, but they're right there. Although that interior defense there, that's scores. Rick Carlisle won't be happy with that.
Now that's a little too easy. Sean Kemp just off the glass, wasn't challenged at all. Final 45 seconds here of the first half. Robinson. Billups down to Wallace. 8 on the shot clock. Kemp tries to muscle him. Slaps it away. It'll still belong to Detroit. But right now, just 4 seconds left on the shot clock.
You know, Richard Hamilton now is playing so well, and he's also being patient. But more importantly, his teammates starting to get him involved, which is what he needs. You know, he's not the type of guy that's just going to go out and try and take a game over. He looks to try to play within the concept of the team, and his teammates now are allowing him to be the player that he is in terms of getting open looks and slashing and finding him cutting to the basket.
Hamilton now 5 of 8 after starting so cool. He's got 5 rebounds as well. And again, Wallace is left wide open on that inbound. We've got 5-second difference between the shot clock and the game clock, and Orlando now wants a 20-second timeout to try and draw something up for the final play to add to a 10-point lead. But this is what you had talked about earlier. Almost regardless of what happens on this play, if you're Detroit, you know you've got a much better game in you in the second half. You can come up with that. You're going to have a great shot to come away with a victory on the road. Capital One Bowl Week on ESPN. Coming up next, 4:30 Eastern Time, it's the Sega Sports Las Vegas Bowl. UCLA against New Mexico. Tyler Ebel. It's a great back for UCLA. Chance to get on track against New Mexico. And Hawaii against Tulane in the Conagra Foods Hawaiian Bowl. That's all coming up today on ESPN. First bowl game for Tulane since '98. And then we are down to our final, about 25 seconds in the first half. Grant Hill to inbound the ball.
Big possession for both teams right now because McGrady and Orlando, they want to keep that momentum going into halftime. If they can get a bucket here and a stop on the defensive end, they're going to feel a lot better about themselves than allowing Detroit to get this lead under 10.
We're going to have to leave about 5 seconds left for Detroit to have a chance. McGrady trying to create something, dumps it down, 1 on the shot clock. They don't beat it.
I tell you, that's a huge play for the Detroit Pistons. They get a great defensive effort from Cliff Robinson on McGrady, and they're able to shut down everybody else. And they still got time here to possibly get a shot off.
We got a problem with the shot clock. Okay, they fixed it now. They had it at 5, but set it back to 5 points. I didn't think my eyesight was that good that I could have exactly the amount between the shot clock and the game clock. Detroit right now on a 10-6 run, cut into what was a 14-point lead, and now a chance to get it down to single digits. Atkins. Oh, Sasser with the foul, and they had one to give.
That's a good play. The only bad thing for Orlando is he's able to get it all the way down to the paint. 3 seconds, literally. They still have a lot of time to either get a post up, run a quick pick and roll, and try and hopefully probably give Richard Hamilton here another look.
You're right, though. It's a good job also by Orlando to let some time go off the clock before committing that foul, knowing you had it to give. There's still lots of time. Hamilton gets up in the air, is looking for a foul, and there was a lot of contact there.
I tell you, you typically never get that call at the end of a quarter or end of a game where there is some contact. Officials have a tendency to allow a little more contact to go on.
Well, you look at it. We'll put the whistle in your hands.
I mean, there's no question that there's contact here. But the feeling is, on the official's part, is that he initiated the contact, he being Richard Hamilton.
Sal Masekela is with Tracy McGrady.
T-Mac, you came out in the beginning of the game. I saw you look like you were wincing a little bit with the back. Then you took that hard fall. I thought, man, maybe he's going to hit the bench. And next thing you know, you go 7 for 13, 20 points. How you feeling right now?
I feel pretty good. Still, it's a little pain in my back, but that's just something that's going to be there. Just got to see whether I can maintain the pain or not. But I'm fine, man. You know, I thought that fall was really going to take me out of the game, but actually, you know, it felt pretty good. And I just got up and, you know, continued to play.
All right, man. I saw that the young man, Iron Brown, is here again tonight, this afternoon. And how is that for you, knowing that he's in the stands watching you, man? And by the way, congrats on what you were able to do for him.
Appreciate it, man. It's a great feeling, you know. I said before, you know, we as athletes and entertainers really don't know, you know, how much of an impact that we have on people. And, you know, it just goes to show. One of my fans, you know, nearly died, and you know, I'm his favorite player, so you know, that's the least thing I could do. It's a small thing to me, but in his eyes it's real big. So anything I could do to help anybody, man, I'm like that.
All right, man. Well, good luck in the second half. Fantastic, man.
He's just he's just a dominant force in terms of playing this game. He creates so many matchup problems for you, and then you surround him with the types of players Orlando has from a skill standpoint, like Mike Miller, Grant Hill. It makes him even more effective. You know, he's a budding superstar, obviously. One of my favorite players. I love watching him play the game, but I still don't necessarily say he's the second best player in the league. Everyone asks that question, who's better, he or Kobe? But I think without question, he has the potential to become that player that everyone hopes that he will in the near future.
Go ahead, tell us what you think.
Well, I think right now that Kobe Bryant is still, when you put Shaq out of the equation, because to me, Shaq's by far the best basketball player in this league. But when you talk about perimeter talent, Kobe Bryant, the fact that he brings it every night, he's won 3 world championships, you got to give him the nod at this stage of their career.
That tells you something about Shaq when everybody argues who's the second best player in the league. In the first half statistics, of course, a 10-point lead. Both teams shooting it about the same. And right now the Magic getting the free throw line a lot more. But the rebounding, again, the concern for Detroit.
It's huge. They gave up 9 offensive rebounds. They only got 2. They average a league low 10, so they're way below that average. And again, they're not, you know, you got a better chance of hitting lotto than you do of winning basketball games. You cannot rebound it on the offensive end, and you turn it over at the rate at which they're doing right now.
But as we mentioned earlier in the game, Orlando is a team that will allow you to come back in a hurry. And Detroit, a team that can do just that, especially Rip Hamilton was heating up. And you see Miller started out so quickly when actually McGrady and Hill were a little slow out of the gate. And Miller was was the big gun for that. Richard Hamilton, 1 point in the first quarter. Guess what? He's got it going now.
He definitely did, and I think he's going to have to continue to play the way he did in that second quarter. Also, Cliff Robinson's got to find a way to get going. You know, 1 for 5 in the first half. He's a much better player than that. If they can get some offensive output from him, again, they got a chance to get right back in this game. Orlando not known for their defense.
As you mentioned before, reason for concern in both coaches, of course. Coaches are always concerned, whether they need to be or not.
You'd always rather be concerned with the lead, though, than without it.
There you go. Miller now to bring it up against Richard Hamilton. Loses the handle. Keeps the dribble alive, though. Sean Kemp brings Wallace well away from the bucket. Miller takes the handoff. Garrity was open. Grant Hill now. He's got a size advantage on Chauncey Billups. Shot won't stay down, though. And we're going to see, wow, it managed to work out well for Detroit, but that was almost a microcosm of some of the problems they have this year. They did a nice job defensively and almost didn't come up with a rebound.
Well, that was huge that they did, but that shows loose balls is going to be a big key. And ultimately, loose balls are like rebounds. You know, typically they work out the same. And they can win that battle to loose balls, they'll have a much better chance the second half.
Curry working on McGrady. His jump shot was a rainbow and good.
You know, that's what makes him so effective. You know, he's a pure shooter from 18 feet. And the fact that he can blow by you and finish with the best of them, it's a tough matchup for anybody.
Yeah, pick your poison. Which one you roll and die with? You want him to come right at you or shoot it over you? Nice pass from Robinson down to Hamilton. For some reason, Rip double clutched on it with one hand and couldn't convert.
Well, that time Orlando had a good help defense. When he made the cut, weak side was able to get there and make him change his shot, and he went from having an easy layup to a difficult one.
Boy, does that tell you? Right there, right on cue.
But I tell you what, he's hobbling a little bit. He doesn't look real good coming down after that shot. But again, just a difficult matchup. Detroit may have to start trying to play some zone.
He'll do it outside and in. Robinson swings it to Hamilton, gets it back. Billups to Curry out of the corner. And he nails a deuce.
That's a big shot. That's going to help him defensively, too. You know, Michael Curry, a great defensive player, struggling a little bit, obviously, with Tracy McGrady. But a shot like that can sometimes get you going, get your juices flowing, give you a little more energy. Maybe he had too many juices flowing there. Again, here, you can't give this guy this kind of freedom, but unfortunately, if you don't give him the freedom, he's going to do this. He's going to drive right by you and get in for the finish. Ben Wallace, no chance to make that stop. He's just such a complete player. You know, his ability to penetrate, beat you inside and out, makes it tough.
Well, they're going to call offensive foul on Grant Hill. I mean, it did not look like a push-up. There was contact there. A little acting sometimes will help you out in this league,
well,
right?
You know, this is entertainment, and, you know, you have to be an actor at times.
Chauncey Billups now picked up by McGrady. Wallace sets a tough screen. Robinson. Hamilton has it. Back to Robinson.
Again, this zone is just really giving him a difficult time. As you can see, you know, no real ball movement, no body movement. And this is what you end up with, having to force shots at the end of the shot clock.
No, and they didn't draw iron, so they did not beat the shot clock. It was just another turnover. McGrady wants to put it on the floor on Curry, then comes up, shoots over top of him. Oh, boy. Rick Carlisle is going to have to come up with an answer for McGrady, who has 6 already in the second half, 26 overall.
Unfortunately, there may not be an answer to stop Tracy McGrady. Again, look at this. You cannot play basketball when the ball doesn't move in terms of bodies and penetration. And what's happening with Detroit right now is they're kind of in a little bit of a lull offensively. You know, everyone's looking for someone else to make the play. They have to become more proactive, trying to get some penetration, get the ball into the paint. If they can do that, they're going to have an opportunity to be successful. They found the answer when they went to their bench in the first half. John Barry came in, Corliss Williams, gave them some movement, gave them some offensive production. They're going to have to find that on their first team if they want to try and whittle this lead down.
And Ben Wallace does a lot of things well. Shooting free throws is not one of them. It's actually under 50% for the year. Ball still belongs to Orlando and Doc Rivers.
I tell you, it's such a daunting task for Detroit when you think about it, because obviously what Tracy McGrady's doing. You realize Grant Hill has not really made much of a contribution this game, and they still find themselves down 13.
cue again. I think Grant heard you. You think so, Greg? Watch this.
Well, obviously, he's a tremendous talent, and he's going to find a way to contribute.
Phillips into the seam. Hamilton gets it up on the iron and drops in.
That's it. Ball movement, body movement. That's what you got to have against the zone. Remember, Orlando doesn't have a shot blocker per se, so there are opportunities in there.
And Curry forced to foul McGrady. And Ben Wallace, of course, sporting the cone roll look, but Ben Wallace will sometimes show up like this. And you know what? You're going to find this hard to believe, but I love this look because when I was 17 years old, I had a look very similar to that.
I think we all did. I think it was a generational thing. You know, unfortunately for me, those days are far gone.
You've got the inward fro, as we like to call it.
Well,
now,
you know, I'm relying more on the mustache and the goatee than I am on the afro.
Well, you know, it's hair. It doesn't matter exactly where it is. It's on the head somewhere. Follically challenged.
That is true.
Well, right now the challenge for Detroit is finding a way to beat this. Robinson comes up shooting. That's a three-pointer, and you almost wonder where has that been all day.
Well, he's actually shot a lot of the threes. What I'd like to see more from Cliff in this game is more penetration. He's got the ability to beat the forwards of Detroit, or Orlando, I should say, even though they're in the zone, and he just hasn't really been as aggressive. Great defensive play there by Michael Curry. Again, but right now, quite honestly, Michael's a little overmatched, as most people would be.
Ben Wallace with the steal. Take it and flush it down.
And just like that, it's a 9-point game. Again, the intensity's picking up on the defensive end for Detroit, which is what they are known for. The hands are more active, the feet are more active.
Foul's going to be called on Richard Hamilton there.
Look at the overplay. Ben Wallace is just always trying to make the right play from a defensive standpoint and an offensive standpoint. And again, he gives you a chance every night you take the floor to win because of his effort.
Wallace with 7 points, so he's over his average, but just the 4 rebounds, a guy who averages 15 a game. Armstrong with Kemp, who's open just inside the arc, and buries a jumper.
Sean Kemp's ability to make that shot, that's something he's been doing for the last several years of his career. But again, in terms of Ben Wallace with the rebounding, you know, someone else has to step up. Even though he leads the league, every night he's not going to be able to go out and dominate the glass. And unfortunately, even when he does, his teammates don't seem to want to participate and help.
Loose ball foul is going to go against Wallace this time. After he missed and Chippy underneath and went after the rebound. That's his second. Where do the Pistons and Magic rank among the league's top teams? We'll check out the exclusive power rankings only on NBA.com, which is where we go, obviously, to get ready for these games. Miller gets it on the deflection. Now he finds McGrady. This is the problem. Once you allow him to catch it, you're in trouble. Ben Wallace on a crossover, and just like that, T-Mac rattles it down.
There's just no defense for that type of ability, quite honestly. I mean, Ben Wallace played that about as well as he could. He contested, and again, Tracy McGrady's ability to finish is just really unparalleled in this league.
And another steal. McGrady comes up shooting again. This one's a little short, and the only rebounder underneath was Armstrong, and that's why he's got a little smile at T-Mac.
Orlando shooting the ball extremely well right now. Michael Curry's made a couple big shots, and I think it's helped him defensively. He wasn't on McGrady on his last scoring opportunity, but again, this team's got to figure out a way to score right now and rebound the basketball.
A way to score and a way to stop number 1. Armstrong to Hill. Hill comes up shooting. And then Sean Kemp gets a little push in the back of Ben Wallace. You know, it's interesting, and you, of course, been around this league so long. You start to zero in on Tracy McGrady and the talent he has and the things he can do. He passes the ball off, and you say, wait a second, Grant Hill's got the ball now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be disconcerting for a lot of NBA teams.
It's scary for a lot of teams, and again, if Orlando ever becomes a really good interior defensive team, they're going to be difficult for a lot of people to handle because of plays like that. The fact that they can get out in transition. Darrell Armstrong, although he hasn't scored first half, he led him in rebounding and assists. You know, he finds ways to contribute. That's what this team does. So
they don't have to be worried about the Sacramento Kings right now, but they do have to concern themselves with the LA Clippers and the Golden State Warriors.
That's right.
Right now, the Lakers have to find a way. We talked to Phil Jackson last week, and he basically said he saw something similar to this in his playing career towards the end of his career with the Knicks, where they were underachieving. But as a coach, he's never gone through anything like that.
And that's a very good point. That's exactly what they're doing, is underachieving.
Chauncey Billups wanted to enter it. It comes to Curry outside. Shot no good. The rebound by Grant Hill. And he hits the deck and got fouled on the way down.
Foul is on number 30, Cliff Robinson.
Cliff Robinson picks up the foul. That's his third.
I tell you, right now, Detroit's playing right into Orlando's hands. Again, there's no penetration. That last possession where they just pass the ball around the perimeter. If you're playing a zone, that's exactly what you want your opponents to do. You don't even have to defend because you're already in a position to be able to get a hand up, and you, in essence, play right into their hands.
And into the penalty as well with 5:40 still to go here in the third quarter. Grant Hill now with 9 points as he climbs up on double digits.
Grant is just, you know, having a solid year. You know, you look at this guy, he leads him in rebounds, assists, field goal percentage, second in scoring, and no one talks about him, but he's just having a solid season when he's healthy and able to be able to go out and contribute.
Hill down there with Robinson, tried to reach around, couldn't get it. Billups now. Hamilton. Hamilton looks to drive. Floater rattles in. Good job by Richard Hamilton.
Again, penetration kills zone defenses, particularly zones that don't have a shot blocker on that front line, which Orlando doesn't possess.
Hill now picked up by Chauncey Billups.
Oh, great move by Mike Miller.
And then another pump fake. Yeah, Miller.
I love Mike Miller's game. You know, he's such a great player. You know, he could be a first option on a lot of teams in this league. But again, he just goes out, plays the game the right way, picks his spots, and he's a great compliment to McGrady and Hill.
How about running Richard Hamilton down under the bucket and then coming right back out? Curry now to Wallace. 5 on the shot clock. Hamilton's two-pointer won't stay in. McGrady with a rebound. Garrity thought he was fouled. He wound up on his backside.
This is not a matchup you want right now if you're Detroit. For simply that reason. Tracy McGrady's ability, again, you know, no one on Detroit's team really relishes the opportunity of trying to guard Tracy McGrady. What they got to do is try and figure out a way to get bodies on him. You know, you can't allow him to sit out there and play with the basketball. His skill level's too high. You know, he's got 31 points. I think he's only taken 18 shots.
And you can clearly see that Cliff Robinson played off him just enough because of the fear he would go by him. Mike Miller, though, has been terrific in this game. See you, Mr. Wallace. And there's an easy 2 for me. Largest lead of the game right now. The Magic have the lead. And here's Tracy McGrady.
Again, you know, Cliff's in no man's land right there. He doesn't know whether to get up and pressure or back off and give up the jump shot.
My favorite present probably was when I first actually got a basketball, you know, because I dribbled all around the house till my mom tried to kill me, you know, and said, boy, take that ball outside and, you know, go outside and play in the snow and things like that. But the basketball probably was my favorite present.
Rip Hamilton, just like Basketball Jones. He got the basketball and he was dribbling around the house. Of course, in Basketball Jones, he dribbled before he got the basketball.
That's right.
Santa, after days hard work, comes here to watch the Magic after he had worked his magic overnight. Your kids get everything they wanted?
Without question, without question. Actually, I wanted to wish everybody out there a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I didn't get an opportunity to do that. You know, all the people at home tuning in, watching this game tonight. It's been exciting thus far. I tell you what, I like what Detroit's starting to do, though. They're starting to try and get back into the basketball game, and they're doing it with what they do best, defense and moving the basketball down on the offensive end. So hopefully they can make this a little bit more exciting as we go into the fourth quarter.
Not bad. A nice Christmas gift for us, and Sal has a good Christmas story as well. Sal.
When I first got to the arena this morning, I saw Coach Rivers. I said, hey, you know, how was your Christmas? He says, well, I'm really tired, man. I said, why? He said, my kids kept me up till 3 in the morning putting together a backboard, a new backboard. He said, next year I'm just going to hire somebody to put together the new gifts.
You got to tell Doc. You're supposed to learn that way back. You never try and put together the gifts.
Especially when you make the kind of money Doc Rivers is making as a head coach.
That's exactly right.
Fortunately, he doesn't have to play today. So he should be okay in terms of coaching.
He can rest at the end of this and go watch the 2 games on ABC.
How about that last play by Tracy McGrady? Again, that just kind of emphasizes what we've been talking about how unstoppable this guy is.
He still leads the league in scoring. His average has dropped below 30, and so Allen Iverson has closed the gap some. That's going to be a great battle to see which of those two is going to lead the league. I'm sure Shaq will have something to do it, and Kobe as well.
Well, I still think this guy's going to end up leading the league in scoring. You know, he does it so efficiently as well for a perimeter play. He shoots at such a high percentage. He can shoot the 3, penetrate. He does it all.
Strong rebound there for Chauncey Billups. Trying John Barry. Sasser stepped in front of him. Corliss Williamson leans and drops it in.
Big basket for Corliss. That's what they need. They need that offensive output. You see now they've gone to the bench. They brought in Barry and Williamson to give them some offensive energy, which is what they need. They're down 11. A lot of time left, though.
And this is where they got to come up with it as well. And the foul's going to be on Garrity after he lost the ball. Okoro stepped in front, and they had to foul him.
I tell you, although Orlando's playing well for the most part, particularly Tracy McGrady, they've been a lot more careless in this quarter than they were in the first half in terms of turnovers. And that's only fueling the fire for Detroit in terms of giving them a chance to get back in this game.
Chauncey Billups now with 12 assists. We're not done here in the third quarter. McGrady guarding him. Wallace stepped in front. Okoro, a 3-pointer that is good. The big fella shows he can step out.
I tell you, big basket again, 8-point game with a full quarter to go. You know, if I'm Orlando, I'm obviously concerned right now because, again, they're more careless with the basketball, and Detroit has definitely picked up the intensity from a defensive standpoint.
Miller with it now, has 9 on the shot clock. Drives on Barry. Help comes. Sasser with the rebound, takes it back up and gets fouled. And once again, they carve the lead down and allow a rebound.
Again, it is just so frustrating when you go out and work as hard as they're working, and yet they don't come up with the goods in terms of controlling that defensive backboard. It takes all your energy away. No momentum can be established when you continuously allow a team to control that offensive backboard.
13-3, the differential. An offensive rebound against Sasser. Takes it a 3-point play.
That may have been the biggest play of the game thus far, quite honestly, because everything was going in Detroit's way. And not only did they give up the offensive rebound, but it's a 3-pointer to boot.
Armstrong is out on Chauncey Billups. 5 seconds left. Billups puts it on the floor. Armstrong got his hand in there as well. And the quarter will come to an end with a great defensive stop by Orlando.
Tracy McGrady is doing it tonight, boy. I tell you, 34 points, 3 steals. He's been the answer for Orlando, and it's one that Detroit has not been able to figure out thus far.
And McGrady has him on his back, and it's a sore back, but it's holding up. Fourth quarter coming up.
As a kid running downstairs and seeing gifts under the tree, you know, we had the tradition where when we went to bed on Christmas Eve, there was no gifts. You wake up in the morning and there were tons of gifts up under the tree, and you just couldn't wait to get up. 5 a.m., 6 a.m.
Yeah, Doc, we can definitely share that feeling with you. The Holiday Hoop brought to you by Michelob Ultra. Orlando with an 82-71 lead. Yes, it is about presence, but this gift that Tracy McGrady has given is probably the greatest of the year, Sal Masekela.
Am I on? Okay. I'm here courtside with my man, Iron Brown. Iron, how has this experience been for you this week, man? Hanging out here with T-Mac, got to come to a couple of games, sitting courtside. It's not a bad Christmas, is it?
No, it's been real great. Tracy McGrady's fun and he's a great player.
What did Tracy say to you when you guys were hanging out and shooting around?
What?
I said, what did Tracy say to you when you guys were hanging around and shooting around during practice?
He just told me to shoot higher, like to get a better shot, and just take it day by day.
All right, man. Well, we're going to be watching your game and see, you know, if you benefit from any of that counsel, man. But enjoy yourself today. Back to you guys.
All right, Sal, thanks a lot. Iron Brown, of course, you're joining us late. Nice outside shot there by Atkins. Iron Brown, the youngster who was a victim of the sniper attacks. He was the 8th victim. He's in the hospital for some time. No one knew his name. But Tracy McGrady found out that he was his favorite player. T-Mac has made a lot happen for him, and it's a great story.
You know, I'm so glad that we brought that point up and talked about it, too, because so many guys in this league do a lot of positive things for society. And unfortunately, you know, those aren't mentioned quite nearly as much as I would like to see. And it's a testament to the character of a person like a Tracy McGrady.
No, you're right. It's always headlines when something goes awry for a player in any sport. And it's always in the back page, if even there, when they do something wonderful. So, you know, McGrady can identify, too. He's a kid himself.
That's right.
You got to remember that. Tracy McGrady came right out of high school into the NBA. He's still a youngster himself. Still plays video games. Probably has a lot more in common with Aaron than a lot of guys on his team.
I think you're exactly right in that point. And you saw it in the interview that he gave earlier, the smile on his face, the glee with which he talked. You know, it's really warm to see that as a former NBA player, because I do have a lot of love for this game and the guys playing.
Chucky Atkins right now has got a lot of love for the three-point line. And he just buries another one, and suddenly Detroit within 6.
This happens throughout the course of the NBA game. You know, the NBA is about runs. It's a game of runs. Detroit's making theirs. They're going to be able to sustain it if they can control the backboard. And again, there you are with second chance opportunities. And you can only defend well for so long throughout the course of the game. You can't continue to give up these second shots.
The Clerk with a big rebound. Wallace was right there, but Wallace had no help. Armstrong now. As Okor trying to stay with him, and guess what? Armstrong doesn't finish it, but another rebound for Orlando. Armstrong with a great move on the big guy. There's no way he was going to stay with him. And this time, Ben Wallace commits the foul.
And you can see the frustration on Ben Wallace's face. Take a look at this move here. This is pretty basketball. It's unfortunate he didn't finish the layup. But more importantly, look at the end of this play. You see one guy basically for Detroit, Ben Wallace. Where are the guards? You know, you're supposed to sink back in after penetration. They come up with that loose ball. They're out running in transition, possibly cutting this lead to 4.
Grant Hill puts it on the floor. Shot won't stay down. You can see the frustration starting to mount on the face of Ben Wallace as well.
Well, I think he's accustomed to it, though. I think, obviously, he'd like to see more input from a rebounding standpoint from his teammates. And if they do that, again, this team is going to be a very difficult team to play with come playoff time.
Wallace Williamson trying to fight his way to the hole. Garrity there with him, and the foul is on Garrity.
Foul is on number 8, Matt Garrity.
And again, you know, the other point we made, again, look at who's doing this for the Detroit Pistons. It's their bench. You got Atkins, Williamson, Barry in the game. This is why they've been so successful. They dominate teams when they go to the second unit, which is typically how you start the third and fourth quarter. I should say second and fourth quarter.
Wallace Williamson rattles that one down as you saw these second chance points and the offensive rebounding advantage that is so strong for Orlando right now. But still, they cannot run away and hide in this game. Miller is Barry on him. Armstrong puts it on the floor. Garrity now. Grant Hill. Wallace closes on him. 6 on the shot clock. Grant Hill leans in, too strong with it. And with Wallace on the ground, there's no way Orlando is not coming away with the rebound. And Armstrong buries it 3.
And Ben Wallace is coming up limping a little bit. I tell you, that it is so frustrating as a basketball coach when you go out and work that hard and you watch your team put the effort forward on defense, but they don't put that same effort into rebounding the basketball.
Well, and you could see with Ben Wallace, as soon as he hit the deck, there was no way that Detroit was going to get the rebound.
The only blue you saw on that play once Ben Wallace went down was the color of the paint, because there wasn't one Detroit Piston within the vicinity of the basketball. Ben goes down. Look at the paint. You don't see one Detroit Piston until it's too late. there's no way you're going to be able to win against quality basketball teams if you're not out there giving your all in terms of rebounding and controlling the backboard.
Grant Hill is having a tough afternoon shooting, 3 of 16, but he does have 11 rebounds.
Detroit like to have a few of those rebounds right now.
And is it attitude? I mean, you look at the guys who are on the floor, you say, they shouldn't be this bad a rebounding team.
They really should be. Again, I think part of it lies in the fact that Ben Wallace has been such a dominant rebounder that they just figure he's going to take care of it. But it's been proven over the last year and a half that that's not going to happen.
John Berry slices in, and Wallace, his knee went knee to knee with Grant Hill, and Wallace apparently got it on the tender side. So we'll see how long before he can come back in the game. McGrady now.
This could be a benefit for Detroit because now they don't have an excuse. Ben Wallace is not in the game. They're going to have to figure out a way to rebound the basketball. If they do that again, hey, you're talking a 5-point basketball game. There's plenty of time for them to get back in this game, but it's not going to happen if they can't control that defensive backboard.
Corliss Williamson commits that foul, his third. But the story in the game, even though Detroit is very much in it, you might think they would be up big if they could rebound the basketball.
Well, if you look at this play here, it's a perfect example of what we're talking about. Ben Wallace, the only one putting forth the effort. Again, where are the guards? The guards are just standing and watching as if they're watching a movie. You know, you got to get in there and get into the mix, get into the fold if you want to win this basketball game. I mean, if you look at the stats, they're shooting 50%, but they're getting dominated by a team that is not known for rebounding, the Orlando Magic. That's not one of their strengths. However, against Detroit, it makes them seem like they're world beaters when it comes to rebounding.
And I'll tell you what, if they could get it going at all, we're in for a fine finish right now. McGrady to Miller. Berry came over, then McGrady gets it back, barely graces the iron. And now Detroit, a chance to cut this down to a 2-point lead with a 3, or a 3 with a 2, obviously.
I tell you, I'd like to give Rick Carlisle some rebounding intensity for his basketball team for Christmas. But again, Chucky Atkins, he's played extremely large in this fourth quarter. He's hit 3 big threes. He's gotten his team back into the game. Now, if he can translate that effort to the defensive end, maybe come up with some key loose balls and rebounds to give his team even more momentum.
Miller trying to create something.
There it is.
Comes up as a turnover. And now Detroit, who trailed by 17 at one point, could be looking at the lead. Okur, that's a 3-pointer, no good. McGrady just wanted that ball more than anyone on Detroit.
And you talked about attitude in terms of rebounding. That's a perfect example. You have to want it. You know, rebounding is, the talent in rebounding is the effort and the energy you have to put forth. And McGrady showed it there.
Okur gets over and slaps the ball away. Sal, when will we see Ben Wallace back on the floor?
Well, apparently Ben Wallace and Grant Hill knocked knees on that play. He took a shot, but I talked to PR. They said that he should be back shortly. But another thing is Rick Carlisle said, hey, we're really happy with the defense, but you guys have got to start helping men out and start rebounding. So, Greg, obviously everything you've been saying making perfect sense, man.
Well, it does. It's so important. And obviously, for those who follow this game, they understand the importance of it. But rebounding, again, they talk about it, all the high-flying plays, and Ben Wallace touched upon it in the pregame. All that doesn't matter if you can't rebound that basketball, because ultimately possession of the basketball dictates who's going to win, who gets the most possessions, who gets the most shots. And right now, Orlando's dominating in those categories, although if you look at the stats, Detroit's shooting over 50%. You know, they got a ton of assists. The turnovers are not too bad. The fact that they've given up too many possessions to the Orlando Magic, that's why they're down.
They almost have to shoot over 50% to have a chance to win the way they rebound. Don't forget, Pistons and the Wizards, Raptors and the Sonics, Thursday on TNT, then Friday on ESPN2, the Bucks and the Nets at 8. Next Tuesday, a rare Tuesday appearance, the NBA, the Spurs and the Wizards at 8 o'clock on ESPN2. Join us all for those. Chauncey Billups from outside. Foot was on the line. That's a deuce. But Doc Rivers wants a timeout immediately.
I tell you, basketball is a game. It's about momentum, and you can see the momentum shifting. Detroit's getting it, and they're starting also to somewhat control that defensive backcourt.
And right now, Orlando in danger of blowing what was a 17-point lead. Corliss Williamson now. Robinson with a three-pointer off the mark. Grant Hill with the rebound. Detroit was going for the lead. They've done a nice job defensively through this quarter. Armstrong to Hill. Barry on him. Posts him. Pulls out into lane. Shot. Barry might have got a piece of that. It was well short and off the mark.
There was an example of the Detroit Pistons guards getting back into the fold in terms of rebounding. Chauncey Billups comes up with a big rebound. If they start to rebound the basketball, I think they're going to win this game.
Corliss Williamson gets challenged, and Grant Hill comes out of there with it. Kemp and Garrity were both there.
Of course, they also have to take good shots. That wasn't a particularly good shot for Detroit that last possession.
Armstrong has the quickness over Williamson, who does a nice job. Garrity's shot is good. The lead is back up to 4.
Orlando right there taking advantage of Detroit's miscalculation defensively. Anytime Pat Garrity's involved in a pick and roll, you should switch it. He's not a threat to post up or penetrate it.
We get a foul away from the ball. It looks like Armstrong. And that is who got it.
His first personal second team foul.
Second team and first on Armstrong.
Perfect example, even though it was almost a pick, but again, that's a situation where if Williams had been thinking, he could have just switched off and then allowed Atkins to rotate back to Armstrong.
McGrady in with his 37 points. Corliss Williamson, as Garrity turns to face him, puts it on the floor, drives in, and he'll earn a trip to the line, but came up short on the shot.
Much better possession, though, this time. Again, Pat Garrity's not going to be able to guard Corliss Williamson down on that block. And Corliss has to understand that, but by the same token, it's more important for him to get to the middle of the paint as opposed to going baseline, whereas if he is contained, he has more options to make a pass.
Desmond Mason and Michael Redd, the only guys who scored more points off the bench this year than Corliss Williamson.
And again, that's one of the reasons why this Pistons team is so good. The fact that they can go to the bench and bring in guys of the caliber of a Corliss Williamson. You know, that just bodes so well for you long term if you can figure out a way to rebound the basketball.
People forget this is a guy who played with his back to the bucket, too, in college.
Well, again, he's got that similar ability to Cliff Robinson, not the range in terms of shooting, but he can score it from 17. He can face it up, and obviously he can score with his back to the basket.
McGrady with it. Robinson tries to stay with a great screen by Armstrong. Absolutely wiped out Cliff Robinson.
I tell you what, he's a momentum buster. Tracy McGrady, everything's going Detroit's way, and he comes in and makes just a very difficult shot on pretty good defense from Cliff Robinson.
Corliss Williamson working on Garrity now. Wants to put it on the floor, spins, nowhere to go, gets it up short. Garrity with the rebound. Comes Phillips, gets it back. His floater won't go. Nice job to tap it out. Barry to Williamson. Back out to Robinson. Phillips down to Barry. That's a 3. Won't stay down. Good ball movement, but they come up empty.
Again, but the effort was there offensively for the Pistons. They kept the ball alive. They actually gave the Magic a little bit of their own medicine in terms of second shot opportunities.
Las Vegas Bowl is coming up when we're done. McGrady is probably far from done right now. And finally, the foul by Atkins. New Mexico and UCLA coming up next. Vegas Sports Las Vegas Bowl, part of the Capital One Bowl Week on ESPN and ESPN2. Leading up to the national championship game, the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl on ABC.
In my hometown of Las Vegas.
Brady right now is having a 40-point game. And for T-Mac, this is what he has been capable of over the last few weeks. This is now 15 times in his career he's gone over 40 points. Incredible.
And the Magic need every one of them tonight. Because really, Detroit's dominated this game other than the fact that they haven't been able to rebound it.
Brady's got to chase it down. Good job, very athletic, just to keep that ball from going out of bounds because the pass was a little bit too far in front of him.
I tell you.
Foul is on number 30 with Robinson. His 5th personal.
Well, it's been a nice Christmas gift McGrady has given the Orlando fans, Sal, thus far, if they can keep it going.
You know, Tracy McGrady, I saw him in the beginning. I said, hey, man, how was your Christmas? What'd you do for yourself? He said, I bought myself a car. And I said, what kind of car? He said, a Lamborghini. But it turns out that he thought the Lamborghini came in an automatic because the Ferrari that he has came in an automatic and a standard. So once he found out it didn't come in an automatic, I was like, well, what'd you do, man? You send it back? He's like, nah, man, I just got automatic installed.
You can do that?
You can if you're a superstar. That's what superstars can come up with.
Let me ask you a question, Greg. Now, you played in the league. If you've got a Ferrari, why do you need a Lamborghini?
Well, that happens when you're young. when he matures a little bit, 5 or 6 years, he won't have both. He'll have one or the other.
Rip Hamilton goes in. Great play. To be young, to be talented.
And wealthy.
Not a bad combination.
Great combination.
And I'll tell you what, he deserves it. That guy has worked as hard as anyone. Armstrong, there he goes in. John Barry this time comes over and swats it away. And he gets it in transition. Dumps it down to Corliss Williamson. Great job by Barry to recognize the help coming over.
I tell you, again, a 4-point game. Darrell Armstrong and Grant Hill have really struggled with layups tonight, unfortunately. And both guys are great finishers, but for whatever reason, it's not working tonight.
Armstrong trying to lose Corliss Williamson. Corliss, a bigger guy, obviously, than Armstrong. Great job to stay with him. McGrady shot off the mark. Corliss Williamson with the rebound. And they continue to do this with Ben Wallace on the bench. John Barry. Williamson, who feels he can take Garrity. Short. Armstrong grabs the board.
I tell you, Detroit just keeps coming at you, though. You know, you can never rest with Detroit because they don't give up. They play hard.
It's easy to see why they're 18-8 coming into this game. Hard work, a huge part of it. Armstrong now. Whoa, Cliff Robinson. Well, there it is. He said, all right, Greg Anthony, you tell me I'm missing layups?
And it couldn't have come at a better time. I tell you, that's a huge bucket. Puts them up 6, just under 3 minutes. Although Detroit's still in the game, that's a big momentum booster for the Magic.
Darrell Armstrong, that's the second time tonight he got a bigger guy on him, recognized it and said, see you later. You see the summary right now, Detroit shooting 51%, getting killed on the boards, and Tracy McGrady with 43. Wow. 15th time in his career he's gone over 40. Chauncey Billups now, and Armstrong doing a great job to make him work. Hamilton has Grant Hill in front of him. Corliss Williamson, who's had some success against Garrity, gets him out, drives down, takes it right in. A little too strong on the layup that goes off the back iron.
Oh, that's unfortunate. He made a great play, great drive to the basket, just didn't have the finish.
Grady tried to beat Robinson to the hole. Hamilton came over, and Robinson did a great job to get in front of him. 2 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter. Miller with it. Shot clock is at 2. Armstrong's got to let it go. A circus that somehow goes in.
Not with the left hand.
Oh, my.
Well, when those things happen, you can pretty much say that this game's over with. I don't think Detroit's going to have a chance if they're going to have to play against that.
Hamilton answers back, though.
How did he even get it off? I have no idea. Cliff didn't leave his feet, stayed with him, contested.
No.
He just throws it up. It pays to be ambidextrous.
You gotta love that. And I'm telling you, that thing was on. Chauncey Billups is looking over at us here going, yeah, we don't believe it either.
I tell you, but that showed a lot to come right back from Rip Hamilton to get that bucket.
Yeah.
And if he gets this free throw, 5-point game with a lot of time left.
Ever since you challenged Darrell Armstrong on his layup, I mean, that was a long layup.
Well, he's too good a player to not be able to finish.
And the Las Vegas Bowl will follow us to Mexico and UCLA. Part of Capital One Bowl Week here on ESPN and ESPN2. McGrady working on Robinson. Garrity gets it. That's a three-pointer, a little long. Grant Hill, though, gets there first. And suddenly Detroit, after they've done a nice job rebounding over the last 5 minutes or so, goes back to their old ways.
At the most inopportune time. You know, again, great defense. You get the contested shot. But Ben Wallace contesting, no one's there to pick up the rebound.
McGrady skies in, circus shot, no good. And we talk about, everyone knows that Ben Wallace leads the league at over 15 rebounds a game. How about Grant Hill with 15 boards today?
Well, Grant Hill leads his team in rebounding, and he's done it before in his career. He has that ability to go out and dominate on the backboard. And again, rebounding ultimately is going to determine who wins this game. Orlando's dominated the backboard. And for a team that's not a very good rebounding team, if you're Detroit, you cannot be happy with the effort they put forth on rebounding.
And Cliff Robinson has just fouled out of the game with 11 points and 4 assists. So one of their offensive threats goes to the bench now as McGrady looks to add to his group. When we are done here, the Las Vegas Bowl. Up next, Sega Sports Las Vegas Bowl, New Mexico at UCLA. And we've still got a minute plus of basketball left. G-Mac now at 45 points. Most ever scored on a Christmas Day game was Bernard King, who had 60. Brady's not going to get there, but closing in on 50. Williamson bumps Garrity, gets it up and rattles it down. Corliss is very strong, lower body strength. He's tough to defend down there.
I tell you, Detroit, a lot like Orlando, creates a lot of matchup problems for you when you play man-to-man defense.
McGrady content to let some time go, has Wallace on him. Shot clock down to 7. T-Mac loses Wallace. That one's a little deep. John Barry chases it down. Detroit has to score in a hurry. Phillips, three-pointer. Just off the mark, and McGrady comes up with another rebound and a shot clock off. Barry has to come over and foul to stop it.
I tell you, all things considered, Detroit really can't be upset. They really gave themselves a chance to win, despite the fact that they had no idea of what they were doing in terms of rebounding the basketball. You know, I'm sure it's something that Rick Carlisle has addressed and will continue to address. Fortunately for them, though, I think they can solve their problems within. I think they have enough ability, and they have the guys who have the athleticism to be able to be a better rebounding team.
Well, and the other difference, obviously, in the game is right there at the free throw line right now. Although I say at the free throw line, Tracy's always shot him from just a little bit beyond the free throw line. He likes to step back a bit. There's Iron Brown.
Well, I tell you, I'm sure he's happy because unfortunately last game he was here, they didn't win against Milwaukee, so it's a great Christmas present for him.
The Magic now trying to close it out. All smiles here on Christmas Day. And they can thank Tracy McGrady for much of that. Sore back and all, Greg.
I mean, he played extremely well, but to me, the underlying hero of this game really is Grant Hill. The fact that he's able to go out and find ways to contribute. You know, there are going to be nights when the shot's not falling, but he was able to come up with 15 rebounds. You know, I think other than Ben Wallace, he out-rebounded the entire starting lineup for the Detroit Pistons. And, you know, as a Detroit Piston fan and a player, you can't have that.
No.
If your goal is truly to be a title contender, you cannot allow teams to dominate you on the backboard the way they were dominated today.
And I know the people watching back in Detroit are hating this. They said, Grant used to be ours. You guys took him, and now he's killing us.
Played well. They had a lot of contributors. Daryl Armstrong played well today as well.
Phillips trying to get into play. A lot of denial. Gets it right back from Barry. Goes to the glass. Finger roll is good. 13 seconds left. Armstrong gets fouled by Atkins.
Well, that's not one of the guys, if you're Detroit, you want to foul. Daryl Armstrong's a great free throw shooter. And with just under 13 seconds, they need 2 misses here to really have any real chance to get back in it.
By the way, does anybody have more fun on a basketball court than Daryl Armstrong?
I tell you, he's a great story. You know, he's a guy that was a walk-on at a D2 school.
Yep.
And then to make it here, you know, he's played all over the world. You know, played in the USBL, I think it was. And, you know, it's just a great story. It's a great story to see a guy have the success he's had. And you know, he's just a credit to the game and to his family.
Yeah, USBL, the NBA Summer Hoops, the CBA, Greece. He's been all over the place. And he really appreciates what he's got, and it shows when he plays. Hamilton's shot misses everything except the floor, and that's going to do it. Pistons saying that ball was blocked, but that's not how the officials see it. Hill into Armstrong, and Chauncey Billups this time realizes they do not have a 6-point play with 5 seconds left. So McGrady and the Magic come up with the win. 104-99 is the final. Coming